if you are a Black mom and you are interested in taking kid-free vacations, this is the video for you. This is another interview in my kid-free vacation series, and I am going to be talking today with one of my good friends and my doula for both of my children, Mrs. Porsche Holland-Otunba. And we are going to be talking about how to take kid-free vacations when you are married and you have toddlers. So I'm so excited. Welcome, Porsche.
Oh, thank you for having me. Child, I need a vacation today. So,
Okay, like I am like so pumped because I wanted to do this series because I wanted to bring on all different types of moms, right? Of all different types of setups to talk about how they make kid-free vacations happen for themselves. I know I'm usually like my setup is very specific, but I'm grateful to have you on here because your setup is very similar to mine. Okay.
yes,
So I
yes,
want to see, I'm interested to learn more about, how you make it work for yourself. But I want to kind of start with, your background. Like I want to talk about like, just share a little bit about your mom life. Like, single, married, number of kids, age of kids, sex of kids, and then just kind of like your, just a little bit about your children and about, why you enjoy kid-free vacations.
yes. Okay, so I am a girl mom of two. I have a soon to be 6 year old and a 1.5 year old who is my honeymoon baby. So I was a single mom for the first few years of my daughter's life before meeting my Nigerian king.
Come
And
on.
now, and now we have another little girl. Okay, so our quiver is full, as they say. It's full for me. It's full enough for me. So yeah, that has been like an exciting journey and ride in and of itself. And even though baby girl is just a year and a half, I've had the opportunity to do, I think so far, three kid-free situations and hubby-free too. I'm out. Like,
Come on.
we're going. Like,
Thank you.
let's go.
Yes, I love that. Like, I love that. And Portia and I's daughters are little besties. If you, my daughters are like literally right, they're like right in between each other. She has a 6 year old, I have a 4 year old, and I have a 2 year old. She has a 1 year old.
Yeah.
So we understand the life of juggling toddlers, and how just being a mom is work, but being a toddler mom, baby,
Yeah.
okay, we are on. Okay,
Another level.
it's a
Another
whole
level
nother
of
level.
exhaustion and all the fun and energy and all that stuff wrapped into one. It's a lot.
Yes. So what I'm wondering is, so did you travel before kids as well?
So I did. I am one that majors in geographical breaks. So I will use like air quotes for it's my mental health, but that has always been me. I cannot
Mm-hmm.
be in the same place for long. And in order to avoid burnout or like resenting where I am, I have to go. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was me. Even if it was going on Priceline back in the day, finding a luxury hotel for a couple dollars for a night or two, even if it was in my own city doing a staycation, I would do that. Hitting up some folks when I lived in the South, and we would do a road trip to New Orleans like it was nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it was 10 of us in a hotel room, I used to do that kind of stuff. So I loved being on the go. I hadn't stamped my passport in some years, but I loved just exploring, being on the go, road trip, catching a cheap flight, any of it. I was down. And so long
Mm-hmm.
weekend for a week, I wouldn't care. I have to go. So that has definitely been a part of my mental health, well-being, self-care, all that kind of wrapped in one.
Okay, so I love that because I also was a traveler before having children. So one of the questions I'm wondering is, did you find it difficult to start traveling again after you became a mom?
Well, the first like trip, I did a solo trip because my family in Alabama, because that's where I went to undergrad, grad, got my peoples out there. So soon after having my first child, Anya, I was like, I got to get back out there to see them. And so getting that together was a little bit difficult. I had a lot of people walking me through, but folks were cool in the airport. Somebody would grab a bag for me, somebody would help your girl out. And once I could manage baby wearing a hand on a suitcase and a book bag, so I had one hand free in case I need to clock somebody, I was good. Get in the rental car. I knew which route I was taking when I would go from Atlanta to Alabama, and that just worked for me. And so I kept that going. I kept my weekend trips going, my little small, maybe AC trips or run to New York without her going.
Hmm.
But then also there was more family oriented things. And she loved being out and about even as a baby. So it was just a part of our thing. She was just like my broke best friend, just hanging out with me.
Hmm.
Like we hit these streets. But it was difficult once getting married and then adding a second
Come
because I
on.
was more exhausted. It took
Right.
more work, a little tired, almost a 5 year difference. That was a little bit harder. And then you got to consider more people.
Hmm.
It was just me and her, so we was chilling. But now I got to
Hmm.
consider this man and this other little child.
Right.
So,
Okay. And this is the facts. Like, well, and that's so interesting because I didn't think about this. Because when I had my first daughter, I was married, so I already had the man to be considering. But I love the idea of like starting with traveling with your kid, right? So that you get comfortable with kind of doing the planning and the prep and all of the things with them, right? And integrating it kind of into their life, right? So
yes.
they're kind of used to it, and you kind of get your legs again in the travel space, even if you're not comfortable with leaving them, right? You get your legs again with them initially before you start, leaving them.
Yes, and that was helpful for me so that when I did do some more solo trips without her, a lot of them were business related. So I'm going on a conference, I'm going here, I'm going there. And so she was able to understand. She had hit close to a dozen flights before her 2 years when she was no longer free. So homegirl,
Hmm.
has stickers and pictures and all this kind of stuff from flying. And it was just nice. She even did great with road trips. We would travel to different places and it was great. So it helped for both of us, I feel like, to be out and about, to be bonding, to be enjoying ourselves. And then when it was time for me to start doing some things solo, she had an understanding of what that
Right.
was, what was going on. And then she could even be sent with somebody else, a family member or whatever, to go do her own thing. And so
Hmm.
now travel, she's waiting for the next thing. Like she's ready to
Hmm.
go.
I
So
love that.
yeah.
So for you, like when you started traveling without Anya, who was your village? Because where did you live? Like, were you living near family, and were you leveraging family, or who was your village that
Yes.
supported you in doing that?
So before I got married, I did move back to living with family. I relocated back to Philly, was back with family, and I actually lived with my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who is still here, who is still with us, thank the Lord. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had her support, I had my mother's support, and we are very tight, like 4 generations. And so that was key to anything that I needed, whether it was I need a girls' night out when I got back in these Dayton streets, whether I needed a night away or I took 4 or 5 days away, they were my go-tos. And
Mm-hmm.
so also her godmother, who didn't live very far from us either. And so those were like the core people that I felt like she's comfortable, she can stay with them, she can be with them, and they know how I am, what I'm about, what's
Mm-hmm.
going to work for my picky child that only eats a certain way. And it just made having community and like real family just really important for me to be able to get those times, whether it was business related or personal, just like I'm out, I need a break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. And it sounds like, even though they are a different generation, they were really supportive of you kind of going without her.
Yeah, particularly my mom. Now, Granny is old school. She 85. So she'd be like, why do y'all be needing breaks? How do y'all work from home? Do you ain't put on no clothes and go to work?
Lord.
So some things was like, Granny, like y'all struggled sometimes with y'all mental health or y'all drank or y'all did whatever to cope. And y'all, nobody provided space for moms to get breaks. I'm here to crush all of that. They will
Mm-hmm.
be fine. They have a healthy attachment, but I will go. And so we would do Daniel Tiger's Little Grown Ups Come Back. We would sing that
Yes.
song. And she would be like, "You gonna come back? I'm coming back.
Yes.
I gonna come back. Bye."
Goodbye. Like,
So my mom was the biggest supporter. She really believed in that. And she even was a single mom and had some times of respite and break. And my grandmother was there, or we had other people that we could be with. But Granny is old school. Like, you don't spend the night at people's house, where you
right.
going, what's going on, that kind of thing. So I had to assure her this child is going to be safe. She's in great hands. If she's not comfortable with somebody, I'm not going to leave her. I'm not crazy. But
Right.
I know in order for me to be well and to show up for this child, I need my moments. And for me, it's a massage is cool, but it's not just that. It's not just a spa day. It's not, I need a geographical reset.
I love
So
it.
that is a part of my life. And now it's quarterly. I got to have my quarterly geographical reset at least, or it's going to be a problem. I just put a mental health card. It's my mental health. And then people be like,
Right.
okay, let her go.
No, this is really a thing though, because, and I love that you talked about how like the generations think a little differently, because I was just talking about in an article about how our mother, depending on how old your mother is and your grandmother, they didn't have space in their mind to think about a break, right? It wasn't even like a thing for them to even consider, because all of their energy was poured into their family and into their men, right? And that was the norm. And so, and also just like really the world wasn't as open to black people either. So there was that part of it, right? We just now
Right.
are, I think, in a space where I would say a lot of us are middle class or more, right? And not only do we have access to the world, but we can afford to go, right?
Right.
And with the internet, it brings a whole nother level of, you can find the cheap tickets, you can do the cheap Caribbean, you could like, and even if you don't have a lot of money, you can figure out a way to go. And
Yeah.
so the differences in the generations is like they're looking at us like, where you going, girl? Like,
How you
what
leaving
you
your children?
what
How
you
you doing?
mean? You need a break. Like,
What you right?
I remember I went to a conference recently, and so one woman I was telling this lady what I did. She was like, y'all. She was like, I swear y'all act like being a mother is so hard. I said, honey, being a mother is hard. What you talking
Right.
about?
And
Like,
there's space for that now. It's okay to say, I'm tapped out, I'm overstimulated, I'm touched out,
yes,
or I'm not happy right now. That's okay, right? I've learned to be okay with saying that. I'm not saying I'm about to throw them outside or drop them off
right.
somewhere, but this isn't working. And so, and there needs to be moments throughout the day. Go to your room, get out my face. It's called quiet time. There needs to be those
Mm-hmm.
moments throughout. And we just got to be real. People are struggling, and just putting on my maternal health like hat for a minute. Like, early maternal suicide is still an issue. Moms are overwhelmed, and that is
Mm-hmm.
still one of the leading causes of death for moms. So if we don't allow space for people to say, this is a lot, I need a moment, give me a second, then what are we doing? So just swallowing it and acting, putting on face like you love
Mm-hmm.
everybody. You love them, but you might not like what's going on. You might not
Mm-hmm.
like them today because your toddler is cursing you out in an unknown
Mm-hmm.
language. I don't like y'all today. I gotta
Not
go.
today.
I
Yes,
have to go.
no, this is real. Like, and realistically, like, I was listening to some YouTube video, and she was talking about. I love the point that she made around like mothers are not supposed to be martyrs; they're supposed to be models,
Mm,
right? And so a lot of the stereotypes of what a mom is supposed to be is like self-sacrifice. Like, you just gotta, everything has got to be about your kids or about your husband, and you just got to suppress it and just keep going and keep pushing it. And she's like, no, like you want to model the life that you want your kids to have and live, right? And so if I think about my daughters, I don't want them mentally struggling like as they mother these children and never feeling like they can take a break because I was always there and I never took a break and I never showed them that it was hard and I never made them, like you said, go in the other room because I need a moment. Like, I need them to know this is real. Like, mama is a real person. Like, just like you. And I have some moments just like you. Like, and I think that's really important for them to see so that when they get old enough, it's normal for them. Like, they're just like, me taking a break is absolutely normal. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Absolutely. Like,
And it's valid, regardless of what anybody says or thinks. And some of it is a retraining of the mind. Because even as I watch you hit these streets, I'm like, she going where? For how long? I'm like, the logistics, the packing list, the this, the that. And I'm like, wait, no, it is possible. Like, you can, or they'll be all right. Like, people be putting up those funny reels. They dropping the kids off, and they knock the door and they just peace out. It could be grandmom's house. Somebody. Them babies will be fine. They'll find something to eat, whether it's French fries every day.
Yes.
They be all right.
They'll be all right. They're gonna be fine.
They can stay in their pajamas for a whole week. I wouldn't care. They'll be all right.
It's okay. That's actually one of the things that I talk to my clients about is like letting go of the control. Right? It's very hard, especially when you are a very involved mom and you're like a conscious mom, and like it's hard to let go of the control of what your baby's day to day looks like. And so sometimes when you're going on vacation, when you take them to so and so house, it got to look just like it looked like in my house. And I'm like, honey, it don't have to look like that at all. Are they fed? Are they alive? Are they well? Okay, goodbye.
Right.
Like that's the most important thing. And I found that even for me, when I grew up, my mom used to drop me off at my great grandmother's house in New Jersey for the whole summer. You hear me? So a good 3 months. See you when I see you. Good luck, be blessed. Okay, like, and it was nothing like my home in North Carolina. It was New Jersey, right? And I feel like I learned so much about myself and my ability to shift in new environments and meet new people and make new friends and learn new things that was an important part of my growth. So I find that to be something that I value, whereas some moms would consider it kind of scary. I'm like, this is valuable for them. They need to know how to be independent without you, because everybody's not going to create the same environment as mom in the real world.
They're going to have to adapt. If we're sending them to school, we're expecting them to be in these streets. We expecting them to get a partner one day. And the fact of the matter is, too, like, we're not going to always be here. And so I need to know that you can make it without me. I'm not talking about the brand new baby that's like, oh my gosh, they ain't got no other way to eat. Or you can get some milk or pump some milk or do whatever. They'll even adapt. But we're ensuring that they're safe. We're ensuring that they're well. And we might need a minute.
Yes.
And that is fine. And they should have a minute too. Like Anya will say to me, I like my alone time. Please take my sister away. I'm like, okay. She already knows. We talk about emotional regulation and asking for what we want. And if she can master that at 5, then surely at 38, get out my face. Move. Get out the way. Please get out the way. I need a minute.
Yes. Well, and so another question I have is around like, do you feel any mom guilt or do you get any like mom shaming from any people in your community around leaving them, right? Like now that you have a 6-year-old, but now you have a 1-year-old too, right? Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I don't have no guilt. Like I'm one of the people that I live unapologetically. It is what it is. And if it's something that I have to face consequences around, then I do. And I also don't feel like I have to explain myself to anybody about anything that I do. It's literally my prerogative. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's how I live my life. And so there has never been any mom guilt because they are well taken care of, well loved. If it's something that I cannot do, I have a tribe of people that will come through for them. They actually have way too much and get way too much and got so many people that love them that baby, you are right. And as far as the only person that was a little bit of an issue again was Granny in the beginning, but I'll just peace out or my mom will be like, girl, we all need breaks and that's just it. And I call them and check on them while I'm wherever I'm at. and just make
Mm-hmm.
sure they okay. But my mom community has been curated. I am very intentional about who I surround myself with. I have plenty of followers, friends, acquaintances, but you ain't in my inner circle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm very much so like the good Lord, like Jesus. He had his peoples that was out here. Everybody knew him. Hey Jesus, how you doing? You coming to the
Mm-hmm.
cookout? Hey, I see you at homecoming. Whoop de whoop. But he had his 12. Okay, so I got,
Mm-hmm.
people on two hands that I can count, but he had his three that was in
Mm-hmm.
the enter. And so if you're not already aligned with being free and getting free and doing what serves you, we're not talking about reckless, right? But doing what serves you. I'm not going to drain our emergency savings to go on a cruise around the world without my family. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're not already down with that, you're not in my ear gates. You're not speaking to me. You're not talking to me. You're not somebody that, like, you're not relevant. And so
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even tolerate any of that. Like, that just
Mm-hmm.
click, hang up the phone or delete or block or whatever, because that doesn't serve me.
I,
Yeah.
I I align with that completely. Like I feel that way as well. Like one of the things I talk about is like, you really have to be very intentional with your mom circle. Like,
Hmm.
and what I'm wondering, so you are a previous doula, now a trainer of doulas. So how
Yeah.
did you build your mom circle? Like, because a lot of people, they will say, a lot of moms will say, one, it's hard to make friends once you become a mom, right?
Hmm.
And then two, a lot of their mom friends aren't travelers, right? So how did you find the people who not only supported this, but would also potentially be the ones who would maybe even go on a trip with you or invite you on a trip and
Yeah.
those type of things?
Yeah, so I've always had a mixed crowd of friends. So some of the people that I rock with from like undergrad, there was a good like huge chunk that got married early on. And so I was already like doula-ing and being auntie and godmom to all those people. But then there was a nice group of us that remained single and we hit the streets and we had flexibility. But there were times where we did joint trips together. Like people would bring their babies and then it was all us single folks and we'd be 20 people at
Oh,
some type of
wow.
situation. That was just a part of how we lived and enjoyed life. And so even coming back home to Philly, that didn't really change. Like I always had a mixed bag of friends. I always had somebody that had little ones, somebody that maybe had some preteens, and then somebody that was hitting the streets with me in the single life. And
Mm-hmm.
so making that transition, though some of those relationships changed, it stayed the same. I had single mom friends, I had married mom friends, I had mom friends in multiple spaces, and so now some of my travel people that I'm with, it's a trio of us that go out quite often, and one is single, one was just like me, single mom, and then got married a couple years later, and so we work with each other's schedule. We're super flexible and sensitive. Our single friend understands when we be needing a break. She's a caregiver, just not of children. She cares for her
Mm-hmm.
mom. And so we're all in this caregiving, trying to stack and prepare for the future mode. And so it's like when it's time to hit the streets, we're all be tapped. And we all
Mm-hmm.
work in the helping field. And so it's like when we're tapped, we're tapped. Like, let's go. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's one core group that I travel with, but I also have been invited and included on things where it may be just a bunch of married folks or, some of my other single friends and mix that thing up. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have been able to maintain different buckets and like a diverse bucket of people that I get up with, but also intertwine that thing because I was a single mom. Now I got this, man, we're a little 2 years into our marriage. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't cut some of those things off. I didn't change how I was. The dynamics just changed some. And I'm one that
Mm-hmm.
likes to curate bringing all of my mixed bag of people together. And so that would be ideal for me, like getting 20 sisters together, regardless of what's going on. Entrepreneurs, execs, everybody, let's go and let's hit these streets. And that
Mm-hmm.
would be like my melting pot
Mm-hmm.
of beautiful situation. The 40th will be coming soon, and that's kind of what I want.
Yes,
So
count me in. I will be there.
yeah,
Like,
okay.
well, and this is a good segue into the boo, right? So have you and your husband taken vacations yet without the girls?
So we have had, I want to say we have had two. Did we have two? I think we've had two, and we're going to be doing one again very soon. And so for us, we try to figure out my quarterly without y'all is that's it, set in stone. And then in between, can we get a couple family and then can we get a couple couples situations?
Mm-hmm.
So it does maybe work itself out to be like close to maybe 8 situations, but we're not talking about, huge trips. But
Mm-hmm.
so we went to DR this summer right before our anniversary for a friend's wedding. And so that was like our first, like, not down the street, me and him, like being
Right.
out for a little time. And we are planning to do a couples retreat with this ministry, and it's Weekend to Remember. We're planning to do that next month. And so I'm super excited about that. But we want to keep that going as
Mm-hmm.
well and consistent. And so that is definitely a plan for us. But he is more than willing to be like, you go, you take your little minute, I'll stay with them. We'll kind of see what's the best for him and I, particularly because our circle is so small and limited to immediate family for who we trust right now
Right.
with our
Right.
girl. So yeah, so that makes a difference. So we've gotten a few in because this baby was a honeymoon situation. So we had our
Mm.
fun, and then that everything kind of shut down,
Honey.
and then Rona was still, she was rearing her ugly head. So I said,
Right.
I guess we ain't going too far. And so we're just now in 2023 getting back on our travel bug because he loves it too. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's where we are now, looking to do more couples in addition to making sure the kids get their little stuff too. They go plenty
Yes.
fast. I ain't worried about them.
They'd be all right.
Yeah, I ain't
So
worried about
I want to know, like, what benefits have you seen from integrating the vacation into your marriage, right? Because sometimes, like, I think I always say, I'm like, first of all, children change your whole relationship. Like, if they
yeah.
gonna test every relationship, including the one you have with yourself. But most importantly, they're gonna test your relationship with your husband or your boo. Like, it's just like hands down, they are coming for it. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of I know that in the beginning, like when Tawana and I first had True, I felt like we were like this blissful situation, and then I
Mm.
also was one who got pregnant like literally right before we got married, and so all of the honeymoon and the newlywed stuff was shut down by
Yeah.
a pregnancy, right? And so I felt like at some stage in our relationship, in our early parenting, like it felt a little bit like roommates, right? Because we were like just trying to survive,
Yeah,
like,
trying to make
right,
it.
you're just trying to get it together with these kids. And then like I felt like we started to incorporate like the dating again, and then we started doing trips again, and I have seen significant benefit of the vacation. But I wanted to see kind of like from your perspective, what are some of like the benefits you've seen of like making that time to go with him alone.
Yeah, it's a fight. It's a fight, especially if you don't have a ton of people to trust, or you really have to coordinate schedules and all of this. But I have seen it be so. Our first trip to DR was crazy. It was tumultuous. It was a lot of things going on. We didn't know what was happening. It was just a lot of stuff. Beautiful place, beautiful situation. But for us, we actually like was butting heads. Like we was getting some stuff out, talking about some things
Mm-hmm.
that we didn't necessarily have the space to, because we have this very vocal, smart processing 5-year-old that's like, y'all said
She hear it
what?
all, okay.
And what happened? And daddy, you said what to mommy? And then mommy said. So it was like giving some space for that, but
Yes.
also to be able to pause and just maybe lay or enjoy. And so it did help us to learn more about each other, because I'm like ready to go. Let's do a little something. He like, let's lay for a little bit. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, but I'm running. We only got a couple days from these kids. Let's go. So just even having conversation, being in long legs of communication with each other was helpful. And I'm looking forward to this next one. We're going to be local, just in Maryland, but I'm looking forward to this because the where we're going is going to be really focused around the marital relationship. So we will sit and be and have a built-in date night, and just looking forward to it not having to be logistics, because sometimes when we
Mm-hmm.
get together we're planning and doing logistics, and I'm really trying to set the stage for us to say, this is a time to just exist, enjoy each other, be together. Let's press into that. And we can do our financial plan and we schedule that another time. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
let's do that thing another time, or check in about our schedules and our crazy calendars at
Mm-hmm.
another point. So I'm definitely seeing that as being a benefit, that uninterrupted, no distraction, just to really hone in on who is this person, what has been
Mm-hmm.
going on, if we're like ships passing in the night because we're trying to make it and
Mm-hmm.
work is crazy and all that kind of stuff. And so I want to integrate that more, but for right now in this particular season, just with my mental health and just postpartum, trying to get my life together, the priority has been more so the solo than the
Mm-hmm.
couple. And it just had to be a shift. I love you, but I got to deal with me first.
Mm-hmm.
Got to deal with
Mm-hmm.
me
Hey,
first.
hello. I am full support of this. Like, yes, like, and I love that you pointed out like the ability to have the hard conversations outside of the presence of children,
Yeah.
because we too have a pretty smart and aware 4-year-old over here who likes to jump in adult conversations
Mind your business. Mind your business.
right on in them, like, and I think, having that time away allows you to get to know each other, but it also just allows you to have that uninterrupted adult conversation time, right,
Yes.
with no time limit, right, and no necessarily restrictions. um and also I find that sometimes the environment can make the conversation less tense. Like if we have it in our bedroom, that's one thing. We have it on the beach, that's a whole different
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if we are like at a resort, like we might be
Hmm.
arguing. However, like it is beautiful here though. So we go
It's wonderful, and I'm gonna sip
right.
my drink and rub your little leg, and I'm gonna
Yes.
do that.
Yes, like, so I love that you pointed that out, because we have indeed had some vacations where it was like we better hash some things out, okay?
Yeah,
But I think it's also important to incorporate that time in there, because especially when you have little ones, you gotta make time for each other.
exactly, exactly.
Because parenting will consume you if you don't.
Yes,
You
and
know?
the time spent together isn't always like blissfully running through the sand. It is this hard thing. It is, wait, don't we need to make another appointment with our marriage counselor? Like, it is sometimes those things to be like, we need to deal with some of these things in order to ensure our intimacy and connection and all of that as well. Like, really dump how work has been, because we get like maybe a 15-minute check-in.
Right.
So really tell me how that's been for you. Really tell me how it's been since your uncle was sick, or since, the
Mm-hmm.
funeral that we went to a couple months ago. Like that, it might be some hard stuff that
Mm-hmm.
comes up in between, jet skiing and four-wheeling
Right.
and sexing,
And I
so,
love
and that's fine, because
yeah.
where else can you really do these things, especially when you got eyes and ears on you all the time. 0 to 5, 0 to 10, they're just much more needy and consuming,
Mm-hmm.
and so it can be difficult. And so I would say be open to all of it, but try to leave on a good note if you can.
Yes.
If you can leave and come back home on a good note, that would
Thank
be
you.
that would be ideal.
Yes, that would be ideal. So, what did you do to set expectations? Because, like me, you are in an intercultural marriage, right? Where you're African American, your husband's from Nigeria, and when it's interesting because even though we're both black, I always like to say we're in the same black, like
It's different. It's a little
it's very
different.
different. And so, how did you set expectations, either coming into the marriage or once you became a parent, that you were going to still be traveling by yourself? Like, and, was he always okay with it? Did you have to kind of coach him through it? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I definitely had, and some people don't like using this terminology, but I don't care. I'm a realist. It's the tourist bull in me. I had non-negotiables,
Okay.
and this was one of them. I'm gonna hit these streets. I have always had a vacation account, so ain't nobody gonna tell me nothing. It didn't matter if I had $20. Five of those dollars were going to the vacation account, because
Yes.
again, that's a part of who I am. I am a geographical break connoisseur, and so
Mm-hmm.
you're never gonna keep me anywhere. Like, that's just not gonna work. And so I didn't present it like that with all the net and
Right.
everything, but it was like, and he understood because he has traveled far more than I have. He has been all over the continent. He has been to multiple continents, loves it, worked in travel for a while he was in Nigeria, and so loves that. And we would dream and talk about what we would do, and even living abroad, like not having to have permanent connections. So it
Mhm.
shifted a little bit after the baby because I'm like, oh, it's been a little minute. I stayed close, I stayed to the house while pregnant, dealing with some health challenges, but it's like, I gotta go now. So I had to reintroduce that non negotiable with a plan. Like,
Mhm.
it's not going to be happenstance, it's quarterly. And this is where it will start, and this
Right.
is where it will be. And I will give you X amount of time to prepare, and you may have to take off. And I will do this, and I will do that. I'll tell you where I'm going. I'll send you my travel itinerary. But this is what it is. And so once that kind of hit, it was before we had an opportunity to do something as a couple. And so it was kind of like, what? And then I had to pull that mental health card. Like, I've been here. I had had COVID 3 times at that point,
Oh my
while
gosh.
pregnant, after the baby, exclusive pumping, another cesarean. Brother, I'm out of here, or y'all gonna be out of here. It's gonna be me,
It's
or
me
it's
or
gonna be
y'all.
you.
One of the two.
So where are we going? It's better for me to go so y'all can survive. Y'all
Yes.
want y'all all right? And so I had to kind of frame it like that and be like, look, Porsche, you gotta go. You have to go. It's time to go now. This is necessary. And so now we're on this place of this quarterly thing. His only like reservation thing is really about distance. So if
Mhm.
I introduce going outside of the US, and there's like this concern, right? There was even an opportunity I had to go just to go to Texas, and he's a dreamer, he's a feeler, and so I don't know if he felt like something was going to happen, or he was concerned. He was
Mhm.
like, I really don't think you should go unless I go with you. I really don't think. And I'm sitting up here like, brother, you ain't God. I'll be okay. I'll be protected. They don't know me. I'm from Philly. I'm not run to Texas.
Right.
I'll run anywhere. And so I think what was trying to be expressed and what we were working out was some of his concern, which later came out with some of the distance. Like,
Mhm.
oh, that conceptualizing, that's too far. What is this? What is that? That concern.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I get that. But if this is a girls' trip and we in Dubai, you gonna be all right? Because it's a
Right.
girls' trip, right? I didn't say it was a couple's trip. And so some of the things I'm really trying to do is to flex to hear some of that, but then
Mhm.
also to say if there's opportunities for you to come along. Like I went to a couple conferences. We did have another one. I went to a conference in Maryland. Already had the hotel room. Business already paid for this stuff. You might as well come, babes.
Uh-huh.
So we did, and we had a great time. So I'm trying to flex in some of those things to kind of ease and appease, because it might have also been like a cry for when you gonna be with me, girl.
Right.
you know
Right.
but when it comes to those distance things, I do get it, and I do understand that that is something that he craves, is traveling the world with his wife. And
Uh-huh.
so it's like, okay, how can I be intentional with this? Does this need to be a couple's trip then? Does this need to be a family trip? And so I'm seeing that that's a sensitive thing. For him is some distance, particularly outside of the US, and trying to think about how I can flex that,
Mhm.
because I do plan to be out in these streets. And so we just might have to do it together.
Mhm.
So he's
That's so
not
that's
worried,
so
concerned, you know what I mean? Or feeling some
yeah.
type of way.
I feel like so I just got back from a girls trip, right, to Bali. And this was the first time that when I left, I had a very similar conversation that you're talking about with my husband.
Mm,
He was feeling kind of like sad that I was going, which is normal, right? Because I'm your wife, you should be sad. Like you
right.
should be like,
You
yes,
better.
gone. Like, like, but one of the things that he shared with me was that he felt like he can't protect me when I'm gone, and I'm like, uh, what do you mean protect me? He's like, yeah, I just feel like I can't protect you, and I'm like, do you feel like this when I'm at home? And he's like, yes. I'm like, really? Like,
Mm,
you feel like it? Like, he's like, yeah, even when you're just at home by yourself, like I feel like, I'm not there to protect you. So this was a new aspect of our marriage that I did
mm,
not realize, like in just in them playing their role, right?
right.
To protect us, there's a level of like I can't get to you when you're at home, but at least I can get to you quickly.
Yeah.
But if you're that far away, I can't get to you at all, right?
Right.
And so, similar to you, trying to understand and be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, know that, well, honey, we're gonna have to figure this out because I shall be in the streets.
Right.
Um,
So how are we
and
going to do this where I'm not causing like agony for you,
yes,
but then it's like, because again, the realist in me is like, I can walk outside and be gone or hurt or in the ICU, a septibus, a stray dog. I mean, anything. The way they shooting up here in Philly, like
honey, come
anything
on.
could take me out. So I'm like, babe, don't worry in that regard. But I do think it does something to them. And we do know that men just have these pieces of them that are
Hmm.
around like control and wanting to be able to cover and hover, even though we talk about these maternal instincts, they have these very
Hmm.
strong instincts around wanting to protect and provide. And so I get that. And I think it's worth conversation, like to not just be like, bae, I'm out, forget you,
Hmm.
F you, whatever, bump the kids. We definitely not saying that, ladies.
No.
When you come back and your house be empty or you be served some papers. Don't blame. We not. That's not what we're saying. Okay. Don't go to divorce court on top of that.
Please don't.
But really seeing what does this conversation mean? What does the flexing mean? And of course we want to be transparent, so he would know who I'm with. I'm with
Right.
this person, that person. Here's the this. And even too, I was like, so what you worried about? You think I'm trying to go get another situation? Because I don't want nobody
Hmm.
else. That's more
Hmm.
drama. I don't have time to manage multiple men. I
Come
got
on.
enough going on.
Please.
So
Please.
if that's what you're concerned about, you can
Please don't.
forget it.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm also sure ain't nobody gonna snatch me because by the time I go off on them, they gonna send me on a flight right back to the U.S. So I'm sure nobody's gonna snatch me. So what are you really concerned about, babe?
Right.
I'm not gonna be traveling on these mountains and in these undiscovered lands all up in somebody's area, acting like I know what I'm doing to be missing on the news. What is your concern, boo? You
Right.
know
What
what I'm
is the concern?
saying?
Well,
Right.
and
So
you know what? Like, I'm like, as I think about it, and I didn't do this trip. I did. So one of the things I did was like, of course, I talked to him every day, but I also was like sending him messages, right?
mm,
Like, I'm like, maybe that will make him feel better about me being gone. But I'm like, the other thing I need to do next time is, you know how you can put it so that somebody can track you
oh
on your
yes.
phone, like it's on track my phone from his phone, so he could just see where I am in the world,
Right.
like and maybe that will potentially make him feel a little bit better about it. So, ladies, if your
Yeah.
husband or your boo is feeling some type of way about you being very far away, like that might be an option. Just so he feels some semblance of control, because I
Right.
agree with you, there is really no control, right? Like I was like, even some of the things that I tell my clients is, what if safety isn't real? You just have you. It's just a decision that you make, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I can decide that I'm safe in my house, but I live in West Philly and people have been shot up the street from my house. I'm not technically, I'm maybe not safe, but I just
Right.
decided that I'm safe in my house, and so I create this feeling of safety within me. And you can do the same thing when you travel, and you also can help to like share and create a environment for your husband or your boo where he feels like you're safer, but realistically, the world is the world. Like it
It
just.
it just is what it is what it is, and our hope and our prayers that we go and that we gonna come back, and most
Mhm.
likely we will, and and so, but that's just it, and so I think it's a thing that's open to discussion, open to, and again, we're still new and young in this, so some of these instances I didn't think about. We didn't know there was going to be something called a COVID. We didn't know
Mhm.
that trafficking was going to be such a big thing. So there are different aspects that are of a concern for him. And he's very world minded. He knows
Mhm.
about world news and what's happening more than I do. So he like, I know you ain't about to try to go here, are you? Or this is what's happening here, or this is why we're not going home to Nigeria right now because of this particular unrest. Like we're gonna go at this time. We're not gonna go here. And so even thinking about that, he's thinking about and juggling all those pieces at once.
Mhm.
So I want to be sensitive and have a conversation and know I'm not going to go somewhere where we can't go. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm not going to bust through somebody's borders and act like, no, I'm not about to do nothing like that. But how can we work this thing out? Because this is going to be a thing. Because I'm like, what if I'm in an Airbnb with 20 of my sisters and we running around with, with no clothes on, chilling? You can't be the one boo that was like, hey, y'all, I got the room down the hall. I'm
Right.
relaxed. You
No.
can't, you're not going to be able to
It
do
ain't
that.
gonna work. It ain't
That
gonna
ain't going to
gonna
work.
work.
This a
Like,
sister situation. You got to
right, yes. Well, and so when you leave him, and this is like a big topic, do you leave a to-do list of like things he needs to do, like the schedule for y'all's kids, so that he knows how to manage them, or do you just be like, these your kids, figure it out?
So not a schedule, no, because he is very much so hands-on. He's not babysitting his children. So he knows when they're supposed to be taking a nap, when they're supposed to be going to bed, whatever, whatever. What is helpful to him though is that if there is some guidance or some preparation, like there's already 3 or 4 things in the fridge that you can pull from. So if one's
Mm-hmm.
crying and the other one begging, you at least got it there. So I'm not going to leave and not have no groceries. I'm not going to leave
Mm-hmm.
and the laundry isn't done so that if baby pee on herself, she literally don't have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's those kind of things. And he'll ask me sometimes if I have a preference. Do you have a preference if they eat this today or if they do that today? But he knows the limits on the tablet. He knows what they can and cannot, do. He's very much so a participant in their life, very much
Mm-hmm.
so a father, not,
Mm-hmm.
not just a donor. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to really do those things, nor do I worry myself about it because it's like this is an opportunity also for them to be free and not have to deal with some of my superstructure.
Mm-hmm.
And they need a break from the same way I need a break for superstructure. They do too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I
And
am
he
about to.
manages them. He be having them behinds be taking a nap better than they do with me. They tails be in the bed. I'll call him and he be like, "Oh, I'm chilling watching the show." They in the bed. They not screaming like how they do me. No, they laid down. So he be chilling.
I love it. Like, I really do. Like, and I think it's so important, especially nowadays, to if dad is involved, like let dad be involved. Right? Like, I think again, when it comes to like the control piece, like sometimes moms want to control the parenting from a position of like, I know better than you. And I'm like, honey, if you don't let the dad and these kids be okay with this is what it's like when I'm with dad, and this is what it's like
Yep.
when I'm with mom, and that's completely okay. It is completely different because they need to get from him what they're supposed to get from him just as much as they need to get
Yes.
from me what they're supposed to get from me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, like,
And they'll be
um,
fine. Or whoever they with, whoever that you trust, right? And you might have to draft your own little list, but whoever that you trust, they'll be all right.
they'll be all
They'll
right.
be all
They'll be all
right.
right. Now, so do you have to explain? I know the baby is little, so she doesn't really know what's going on. Do you
Yeah.
have to explain kind of like I'm leaving or the like just kind of things to Anya, right? And how do you like ease maybe any anxiety or worry or just sadness that she may have with you leaving?
Oh yeah, Anya is the one. And so I try not to give too far in advance because their conceptual, they can't really conceptualize. Like I'm leaving next week. So even though I have a trip in 2 weeks and then we have our couples thing in November. She might overhear me talking about it, but she don't really have a great concept of time. So I'm not gonna say
Mm-hmm.
nothing so she see me packing the day before. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like these are the many nights, how many sleeps, right? How many sleeps she can conceptualize that. But honestly, the next trip I'm going on, she's going on a trip to go see her new baby cousin in Florida. So she ain't worried about me. She going with my mom and my granny while I'm going to Atlanta. They
I
going
love
to
it.
Tampa, I'm going to Atlanta, and she ain't gonna be worried about me. And so, but if not, then it would be this constant thing of like checking in, the prep. These are the things that you can do. This is what you're going to be doing while I'm gone. You're going to have fun with this. Here's your little money or just whatever. But when you give her something that she love or be like, oh, so that means I can have tablet for a little bit because I don't give her no tablet time for real.
Uh-huh.
Child, that frown turned into a smile so quick. She ain't worried, but then when I come back, it's I didn't want you to leave.
Aw.
You left me. I didn't want. Oh, you brought me something? Okay, girl, we cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that fickle and
Yes.
just whatever. But that's how it always has been. Like even when it was just her as before being married, I would have something set up. And even for our honeymoon, we sent them away on a trip. My mom and granny and her. So they had a blast and a ball for the 4 or 5 days we were away, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then after the baby came, she was with them for some time. So I always try to integrate something where she's doing something fun or something's going on, something was left, maybe a new gift, something that I had in the house that I didn't pull out, just to
Mm-hmm.
kind of help to ease because I know that that's important for her. And but she's not a big phone person, so even checking in with her is like whatever. She don't want to check in. She just
Mm-hmm.
want to know, okay, so how many sleeps or how many more before she back?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what helps for us. Where I don't know what's going on in that child mind, but we'll FaceTime, we'll talk. She will talk to me when I'm away. But they be all right. They be all right.
Right. Like, this is interesting because I never thought about sending them on a vacation while I'm gone.
Yeah, I do that
This
a
is
lot.
a new one. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
because so similar to what you were saying earlier with regard to like dad being home with the kids, but like technically, so this year I took 3 trips alone, right? Which is not normal for me. Usually we do a lot of family travel together, or at least I'm with my husband. But this year, Mama was by herself, okay? Like had things to do and things to celebrate. Um, but and I could tell, like now that we on to get the third trip, my husband like, okay, now really, like you doing a whole lot
Right.
of
What you
traveling
doing?
by yourself these days,
Where
like.
you going next?
Yes. So, but I'm like, dang, if I would have like just sent him with the girl somewhere, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. You be somewhere else too. Like that is a really good idea. I think I'm gonna have to incorporate that next year.
Yes. And even better, I feel like what would be a great sale, just we can, do this offline, is if we can get them together with the girls and be like, y'all go to Great Wolf Lodge or go here or go
Yes.
there. Me and Inez, we out on the next.
Yes.
So you got a daddy friend. Y'all can sit there and just order pizza and look at them and let them just run
Yes.
amok. Y'all just let them, and they're okay.
I love it.
Bye. So I
Absolutely.
think even with that, like sisters, if we need to get together and plan us or something and make sure daddy got the kiddos,
Mm-hmm.
let's do that because I get it. We don't always want to use up maybe our particular sitter or our in-laws or whatever for every single trip. So if we want to reserve that for like an
Right.
anniversary or a special time, okay, you can leave dad behind. But maybe if he even did a play date, go call your other dad friend, do a play date while I'm out, or y'all go somewhere and sit and chill. Cool. At
Yes.
least you're not alone in it, and y'all wives is going through the same thing. And we'll text you or FaceTime you when we can.
Right. This is a really good idea. Like, because let the dads entertain each other and let the kids
Right,
entertain each other while the moms
right.
go gallivanting.
While we out,
Yes.
we gallivanting.
Okay. While we gallivanting. Okay. So I have a few more questions. One is what is like if there are any, what's like the biggest obstacle that you would say you encounter right now in taking kid-free vacations, right? And how do you like overcome it?
Yeah, so my husband is African, okay, so they like to work. And so it is easier and cheaper for me to do weekday travel, and that's what I prefer.
Uh-huh.
And because I like to stick with particular family things on the weekends. And so that means there's some sacrifice on his end from being like, I got to cut into this, or I'd rather be at work, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that's one of the biggest things is not that I'm getting a hard time or there's a protest, but just being considerate. So, babe, what if I did a Thursday through a Sunday, or
Hmm.
something like that, because I want to be sensitive to our financial things, but I also want to be considerate of the fact that you actually are someone that's driven by I need to work, I need to provide, I don't want to take too much time off or reserve it for when we're truly traveling, out of the country and thinking about it that way. So that's one of the biggest things is the consideration of him because he is
Hmm.
the primary because now my mom is in a very demanding workspace where
Hmm.
she's required to be on. She's a therapist.
Hmm.
And so we got to be very intentional with the days that we take. And so that means we're not hitting her up for every single trip. And
Right.
so that finagling is something that's of intentionality. And I just don't, again, it's not going to be too many people up in my crib or helping the babe or anything, my children. Like I just don't have
Hmm.
time for that.
Hmm.
So that is really the biggest thing is being considerate of my two major folks that invest into my children
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest thing with the timing. Which one do I go to? Do I say yes to this one in October, but maybe no to this one in November? Like, what really makes sense?
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like, and so you probably are like, because you're kind of on a quarterly cadence already, they know if this is their quarter to be on, right, while you're gone.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how I'm trying to set it because this was the first year where it was really intentional like that. But I always did something on my birthday, but I used to take Anya with me though. And
Mm-hmm.
so by the time I would make it to the South, because that's where my people's is at, I could literally leave her with a bunch of other kids and
Mm-hmm.
go out with all my girlfriends, do my whole birthday thing. That's what I would do every year. Like all the moms would have leave their kids, and again, it was a mix of mom, single. We would leave
Mm-hmm.
them with some of the brothers, and all of us would go out and hit the streets, in Montgomery and just hang out. And so now that is a part of the cadence, the rhythm, and now building in some of these other things like anniversary and birthday, because his birthday is the day before our anniversary in July. And so trying to build in these other pieces where it will be clear who's doing what, right? If my husband's taking two, if my mom's taking two, and having the newest baby just makes it a little bit difficult too. Anya's
Mm-hmm.
easy. They know what she eats.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down all day, turn up queen, jumping off couches, flipping and dipping. So my mom be like, I'm closer to 60 now. I'm a little bit tired. She wore
Right.
me out 4 days, wore me out.
I
So I'm
can't.
like, okay, I understand. So that's
I
what I
understand,
get.
honey.
My quiver is full. I'm not about to lead them with 4, 5, 6 kids. I'm not, because
Yeah.
it's harder and
Let me
harder to
tell
get a
you.
sitter the more you got. I'm not
This
doing
is
that.
this is why I am like, we are done.
That's fine.
Okay? Because let me tell you, that is agreed. Like I wouldn't even want to leave somebody with more than two of my children because they wear me down. So I know they gonna wear you down.
Right.
Like,
Or y'all gonna
and
just be in the
so
house and everything just gonna be everywhere. Do I expect you to pack them up in the car seat with the stuff, all of that,
yes.
right? So even for the trip I'm taking this month, Ade is not going. She has to stay with her best friend dad because my
Hmm.
mom already has an 85-year-old that's gonna be in a wheelchair, plus Anya, who can help. She can carry stuff, she can help. She's a
Right.
great traveler. But why would I then add on
I
a
did.
day when they going to visit the newest grandbaby who's gonna be
Right.
screaming all night?
Yeah.
That
No.
ain't wise. That ain't
No.
wise. And so she got to stay with her dad. So even with that, sometimes it is a divide and conquer
Yeah.
because their needs are different.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wear somebody completely out with the toddler that jumps from item to item.
Right. Yes.
So
I can't imagine seeing Ade jumping.
she does.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I can't. Okay, so I want to do a speed round. So I want to know a couple of things about like logistics for how you make this happen. So like, are you a planner for your trips? And if you do, like, how do you plan simply or easily so that it's not overwhelming or it doesn't take forever?
Yeah, I'm definitely a A1 planner. So I've always been a logistics strategy person. So I've done so many events. I actually want to get back into event planning, and trip planning has also been my thing. So when I said earlier about like 10 people in a hotel room, like when we were broke college students, I would organize all those logistics. Like how many cars, how much the gas going to be, this and this, where we could eat, where we could get a coupon, and like 10 college students, we would figure it out and we would go to
Yes.
New Orleans. And so that kind of stuff like invigorates me, makes me excited. I love finding deals. I like kind of working on itineraries and things. So I am super planner. This is connecting here. This is how much of a break and a gap we have. Checking out some things on Google beforehand. So at least I have a list of possible restaurants for everybody's dietary things and all this kind of stuff. So I love that, and that's how I am. The first trip where I just kind of let it go was when we went to DR this year because we knew we were going to a wedding. We knew that we were going to be coming in, and my girlfriend and her now husband, like he's from the DR, so they have mastered it. They were going to pick us up and make sure all of our needs were met. And so I was like, we just got to make sure we get to JFK and get on our flight with JetBlue. We're good. They had found us the Airbnb where we were going to be fed a Dominican breakfast every day. Like we were good. So I didn't feel the need to do all these extra things. They worked on our transportation. They made sure all of us coming in for this wedding were good. And
Uh-huh.
so I really just kind of sat and ate and drank and had a good time. That was wonderful. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was wonderful. But typically, I am spreadsheeting or documenting. I'm a Google Doc-aholic, and I am sending it out to everyone. I have coordinated all of the lodging stuff, broken down all the coins so everybody knows their exact piece and all
What?
this. That is just me. I
Let me
just got
tell you, Portia, I'm excited because I am that friend, and I don't have any friends that are that way, and now you are that friend. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have another friend who I can just be like, okay, I'm gonna let her plan the trip. Oh, come on now, like I'm like, I'm like, oh my gosh, Portia is
Yeah,
a
I love it. It would be some, so I have to decide with each travel, can I just chill and kind of let some things organically be? Because that does also contribute to some of my need for control and my anxiety. So I do
Mhm.
know that, right? Just being someone that wrestles with anxiety, like I know me. And so, or could I just go and let this roll and wait till I get there to find a restaurant and just park the car or just get off the train and just kind
Mhm.
of roll? In New York, I'm not doing that. I'm already going to be anxious. New York is too much going on. There's too many people. I got to know what's what because you'll get pickpocketed or I got to punch somebody or whatever. Some other places, it might be cool. I go down south, I can just park and walk. I just did my solo trip in Savannah. I got in a Uber one day and just got dropped off. It's open container. I just walked around. I just had a boozy old walking around good time, no
Mhm.
itinerary. That
Mhm.
felt good because it was just me. I didn't have to worry about anybody and I could just be. So if it's the family, it's going to be a little bit more anxiety provoking and inducing, and it's going to be a lot more travel because I
Mhm.
got to think about the nap time, who's going to be screaming, what food they like, how far is it from
Mhm.
where we're staying, or are we on an all inclusive resort? What time is this? That night is it the cruise ship? What time do the babysitting services close? Like I got to
Mhm.
do all of that. And so for me, it's really deciphering, is this a chill, let go, Portia, put your planning to the side because I plan for a living too. That's part of like my life. So
Mhm.
much goes into my consulting firm around planning. Or is this, I have to have this thing spreadsheeted and really together? And that's the mindset I
Mhm.
have to check in with myself about.
Mhm. Are there
Yeah.
certain sites that you use?
I'm trying to think if I use anything particularly. Google tends to be my big thing unless I'm going, so I refer to a lot of groups. So like on Facebook, Black Travel Movement, Black Kids Do Travel. I refer to a lot. Like I want to know that a for real person said something about something, and then
Mhm.
I'll go see what Google got to say on
Right.
top of it. I got
Mhm.
to see. I got to see. Is y'all lying? Is y'all telling the truth? Is this because it's your cousin? Like I need to know. So that's pretty much the extent
Mhm.
of what I do, because if I'm going somewhere, chances are I kind of have an idea of what I'm looking for or what I want. I haven't done too much like, this has never been on my list, this has never been on my radar, let me give it a try. Like
Mhm.
chances are I'm quite familiar as to why I would even consider going unless somebody just invited me to go somewhere that I've already thought about it and I just need the latest like
Okay.
feedback on how it really is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And then like so, and I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, but like where does travel fall in your budgeting priority? So how are you like saving the money to go?
It's pretty up there. So I'm actually in a financial shift in life right now. And so my percentage will change, but it is still very much so a priority, like in my buckets of emergency, housing, like for future housing kind of things, vacation, like it's in one of the top three of the savings like buckets that I have. But because of some recent things, just like shifting percentages around, which is making me think, okay, really paying attention to those deals. If I'm looking at Hopper, if I'm doing Google Flights to track, and then I can deal with a cheap Airbnb later or see what season the resort is doing, whatever.
Mhm.
But it's high on the priority bucket.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And do you automate your savings, or like do you have apps that you use to automate it? How do you make it happen?
So I used to, but again, being in this complicated, kind of not complicated, I'm not going to say complicated, but interesting of a place, because of how we choose to do our finances as a couple, it's a mixed bag. So I am going back now. I'm literally managing multiple accounts in multiple places, including
Mhm.
online. And so now we're going back to a place of automating certain things from certain spaces where I used to do that when I was just kind of solo, but then had to
Mhm.
reestablish and do some things. And it wasn't a priority. Like in 2022, it just wasn't, because it was like, this
Mhm.
baby is here, COVID is here, we got to
Right.
just all hands, all money on deck for
Right.
this here situation and to keep ourselves together.
Okay.
And so that is definitely something that I plan to tap into, because I do have like money tracking apps and the ability to spread out what savings looks like in different bank accounts, and have really found it to be helpful to have things in different places so there won't be this temptation to touch and like paying myself first and acting like it doesn't exist, so that I truly won't touch. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I can't touch it. It's
Yeah, yeah. And I understand that as well. It has been a very funny year for us as well. As I transitioned into full-time entrepreneurship and we have our
yes.
investment property, all these things like and so some of the automating that we were doing last year, um, I'm not using the apps the same way, but I similar to you, like it is a part of the budget and because it just has to be like it's just
Yeah.
it's a part of the lifestyle. But I know even in going on 3 trips this year, these trips were planned last year. So this year, like that's my trip to Bali is my last trip, and I probably won't go anywhere again until May of next year. But as I'm going into the end of the year, I'm like, okay, now we got to turn back on the automation and figure this out like
Right, right,
next
right,
year
right.
because I feel like that has been the easiest thing for me. Like, and if you're watching this, make sure you go to the description for this video. I created a free resource called Unlock Your Travel Funds, and it's a checklist for you to be able to use your bills and your expenses to effortlessly fund your getaway. And so I found that, like, in automating the actual money flow, that helps. But what has been most helpful for me is like leveraging what I'm already spending to be able to kind of have the points and the other things that I can
Yes.
use in order to be able to fund my trip, especially when I can't do as much saving as I am used to doing or I
Right.
used to do, you know.
Yeah,
So
looking
yeah.
into those other ways. Like, I definitely been listening to some financial gurus, and it's like, okay, so how you make this credit card work for you? They playing you. They try and play you. You play them and get them points and cover your whole situation. So yeah, how can you be creative and looking at, do you have a Hyatt account? Do you have a Marriott account? Like, where are you staying? What are the frequent things? Something you might have missed. Do you have a AAA
Mm-hmm.
discount? Does one of your jobs have these special blocks? So you're going to go Tuesday and Wednesday night as opposed to Saturday and Sunday, where it's going to be $400 more. Like, there's ways to finagle this situation so
Yep.
you're not looking broke, busted, and disgusted.
Right. Okay. Right. Absolutely. Well, this has been so good. Like, I am excited because although we know each other pretty well, I didn't know any of this part of your life. I'm so excited. I'm like, honey, I got a friend who do some planning. Like,
Uh-huh.
we gonna send these husbands away. Like,
Yeah.
all the
I
things.
don't mind. I think that's actually nice. And I did encourage him this last time around. And I'm going to keep that going. Like, be intentional, find some people. And I think that might help too if we could make some things. Grab some of your people that you're cool with or that you
Yes.
had an eye on. Like, oh, I like this couple. See how we can work through some of these logistics together, because not everyone has accessible in laws, or they might not be close by, or they
Yep.
might be, still working, because we got people working into their 80s and they may not be able to do some of these things. So are there ways we can help each other or trade off? I'll get your kids in March so y'all can go out. Y'all get mines in April so we
Right.
can go. Like, we gotta have date nights. We gotta have travel. We gotta have these things. So what we're
Yes.
gonna do to make sure
Absolutely.
it happen?
Yes. Like, is there anything like that you? I mean, we covered a lot. So I'm wondering, is there anything like that you would like to share that we didn't cover, or just anything that you would want, you know, newly married mothers of small children to know about, taking kid-free vacations and making them happen for themselves?
Yes, have the conversation with whomever, whether that looks like other parents that you're co parenting with, partner, folks that are in your corner, have the conversations so it won't take folks by surprise when you about to pop up and go somewhere and do something. But also think about your day ones, because there's always particularly a brown person that's gonna pull out. Oh, I ain't had my $200 to put down. Y'all know I can't go. Oh, I ain't got it. No. Who are your people that you already know love being in these streets, want to be in these streets, are open to it, and are actually gonna put put some money forth? Choose those people unless you're truly fine with just going and trekking alone. So that would be my two tidbits. Like, have the conversation as early as possible. You date in, let somebody know. So if they're a homebody, I know some couples that make that work. One partner just stays at home because they don't like to travel nowhere. The other partner's like, listen, I told you, I made this very clear. This is my life. Clearly communicate and choose wisely who you take with you, because they could ruin
Absolutely.
your day.
I completely agree with that. Y'all, if you really like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up and leave us a comment. Let me know what your major takeaway was of this video. Let us know if you're having, like, if there's something that it's an obstacle you're trying to overcome in getting in these kid-free streets. I'd love to create more videos about this, especially, especially for moms that are like us that have little kids. Because they, like Porsche was saying earlier, they are a lot more needy, and so I think there's a lot more, like I like to say, mental and logistical gymnastics that we do in order to make sure these children are taken care of, and that they're safe, and that also, like, they understand what's happening to the best that they can, right, at this stage of their life. Portia, where can people find you in these streets?
Oh, yes, honey. So I am all things Black maternal health and parenting. So it is Reclaim Black Motherhood, Facebook, IG, YouTube. Just Google your girl and
Please do.
you will see me.
Please do. Y'all, like, she is really trying to help us out here, all the Black mothers, to bring in healthy, wonderful little kids in a way that is best for us, like that we enjoy, but also that allows us to advocate for ourselves. And so make sure you go and check her out, Reclaim Black Motherhood. Don't you have an event coming up?
I do. So if you're in Philly area, November the 5th, it's hashtag Black and Pregnant Philly. This is my second event series. Inez was a speaker for the first one. And so super excited to offer this free community event. So the pastors, the block captains, the pregnant folks, the uncles, the godparents, everybody come through. We're going to be talking about what is real to us, which is bringing forth life. And the Black community is still growing and thriving. So let's have these conversations. Let's resource, get you some good food. It's going to be some Nigerian food up in there too, I heard. Just come on through and get you some resources and tools, and some love in a communal space.
Fabulous. And I'll link to that in the description as well. And we'll add some links for finding Porsche in the description as well. So thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.